Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim Does Level Design and welcome to lesson 6 of my beginner course in video game level design. As homework from the previous lesson, you should have filled out some early intentions in your quest design document for which enemies, key level design ingredients and key abilities you wish to feature in each of our level areas. You should also have tried out at least a couple of test setups in a new gym level with combinations of enemies and LDIs you might be able to use in your level. In this lesson, I'd like us to get started with actually building a first rough blockout version of our level. Let's open up our Unreal project and go through exactly what that means in a hands-on way. To get started, let's do the usual and duplicate our template map and name it map_Q06. Everything we've built so far with our gym's levels in terms of the physical level, generally called level geometry, has consisted of simple three-dimensional shapes. To start building rough first iterations of levels, the most common practice is to use just those simple blocks to put together a first playable representation of what our level will become. Because of this, it's commonly referred to as a level blockout. But as often untextured white or grey blocks are used, you may have heard terms like white box and grey box as well. Those and other terms like orange block or block mesh tend to refer to more or less the same process, though there may be subtle differences within different teams or projects. Our game as platformer flows classically from left to right in a linear way, and for simplicity's sake, let's say there's no backtracking to previous maps. So I'll create some space for the player to start on the left side, and add a def text panel with a bit of context about this area's intention for myself to use as reference in the future. I'll add a big wall on the left side to indicate there's no going back, even though we technically still can climb it with wall jump. I'll just add a text render actor saying path blocked, so I don't forget later. If you remember, our QDD already splits the level into 5 distinct areas, with some estimations for the total gameplay duration. To get a first rough idea of what that means for the total size of the level, I'll first stretch out the level a good long way to the right, and add some def panels along the way with the area names and some contextual information, like we did at our starting point. When we press play and run through this, we'll see quickly that we're nowhere near the intended duration of 11 minutes yet. Though with added verticality, obstacles, enemies and puzzles, it's unlikely that players can make their way through it this quickly. For now, it gives us a very rough first impression of scale, and we can easily make some adjustments if it feels way off target. I'll actually go ahead and split our folder structure into the 5 different areas already as well, and make sure that all our content is in the correct subfolders. I know it's a bit boring and a hassle to set this kind of stuff up, and also to maintain it while you're iterating on your levels, but trust me, it will make your life a lot easier down the line when your level gets bigger and harder to navigate. And as a quick tip, when you use Shift+click on a folder arrow icon to collapse it in your outliner, it will collapse the whole structure underneath it as well. This means that when we open it again by only using our left mouse button to click on the icon, we don't have to scroll for days to find the actor and folders we need. Now that we've split up our content into 5 different folders, this means we can also hide and unhide those entire sections by pressing the visibility toggle button next to the folder. We can also right-click a folder and under Select, choose All Descendants. This allows us to select all the actors in one of the folders and their subfolders and easily move around one of our areas all together at once. This will come in handy when we, for example, wish to move and extend an area without needing to disturb the other areas. Now let's take a look at our QDD and focus on Area 1 to see what we have to work with here. The quest starts with the player arriving in the forest at the end of a cutscene. We have some representation of this starting point in a map already. The key LDIs here are spikes and jump pads. I'll already drop those in our level and move them in the Area 1 folder structure. We also know bats as an enemy shouldn't take center stage, but we can use them to spice things up a bit. I'll drag a bat into our Area 1 section as well. The area will be focused on platforming gameplay, heavily using double jump and wall slide. To me, this indicates the need for quite a bit of verticality. I'm going to go ahead and add some vertical block sections to this area, more or less randomly, and break up the even floor a little bit. Basically, what I'm trying to do with adding all of this in is not yet a particularly guided design yet, but just to get over the initial blank canvas problem. The more elements I visually have to work with, the more my brain can start forming connections and coming up with ideas. Now we shouldn't forget to look at our defined starting conditions and setting those up in our player modifier. Quick fix here though, we don't have control over the player's max health in our game prototype, so let's remove it from the QDD for now, so when we playtest our initial setup, we get the correct impression. And remember that you should playtest your content often. Now remember how we made some test setups in our gym? You can simply use some ideas as reference and build them up from scratch. But I'll want to copy over an entire test setup I made. With the gym level open, I find the section I want to copy and hold down Ctrl, Shift and Alt, which then allows me to drag a selection box around the area I wish to copy. Having selected more than I wanted to, I can hold down Ctrl and click on any actors I wish to deselect. I'll briefly deselect everything by pressing the Escape key to show you another handy trick. In the top left of our viewport, we can press the button that says Perspective. Clicking on one of the perspectives sets our viewport camera to an orthographic view on that perspective, meaning we're looking at it in only 2 dimensions. If you can't see your level appear, you can select one of the actors in the viewport, either double click it or press F on your keyboard to center the camera on it. From the drop down button next to our perspective one, we can switch from wireframe to unlit or lit to get a clearer view of our level. Let's switch to perspective right to get a properly aligned view of our level. We can zoom in and out by scrolling, and we can pan the camera by holding down the right mouse button and dragging across the viewport. Especially due to the 2D nature of our game, you can use this 2-dimensional view to edit your levels if you prefer having a simplified overview. Though for now, let's just drag around the section we wish to copy. If it's difficult to select the entire section in one go, you can select a part of it and then hold down Shift and drag the box around another section to add it to our selection. If you wish to add individual actors, you can hold down Shift and directly click on them. If you've selected too many, you can hold down Ctrl and click on an actor to deselect them. When we have everything selected we wish to copy, we can press Ctrl+C and open our Q6 level again. I'll press Ctrl+V to paste and move it a bit to the side. I'll create a bit of room by deleting some sections. Now I can reselect our copied section and slot it into place. I'll make sure everything is nicely sorted into the correct folders. And at least briefly switch to perspective view to see if everything aligns nicely. And of course, it can never hurt to quickly play the section of our level that we have so far. It doesn't just allow us to check for mistakes, but can always lead to some inspiration for interesting gameplay and layout setups. With some form of baseline for our blockout in place, I'll continue the blockout a bit based on what we have, extrapolating on our defined LDIs and intentions for wall slide and double jump. And there's still something important that I didn't mention earlier, which is how to swap out materials in our level. In our content folder, we can also find a folder named Materials. When you open this up, you'll find a few grid materials. To assign this to one of our blockout meshes placed in the level, we can simply drag it from the content drawer straight into one of the meshes and release. If you find this color palette way too restrictive and would like to use some different colors, you can duplicate one of the materials and rename it. For example, m_grid_pink. And then double click on it to open it up. In the details panel on the right, you can click on one of the color swatches, select any color you'd like to use and press OK. I'll do the same for the secondary checker color. Don't forget to save the material before closing it. Now we can drag this material onto our blockout meshes in our level as well. Now that we've established a baseline for you to begin with, for the homework for this lesson, I'd like you to keep working on Area 1 to the point where when you play through it, you can have a rough idea of the type of gameplay and size of the space you want this area to be. It's all really just about a first impression, so no need to tweak anything to perfection at this stage, but feel free to have fun and explore anything interesting idea that might come to mind already. But fair warning, don't get too attached to your layout just yet. Good design is all about the process of testing and iteration. Especially in the early phases, you have to be willing to throw away what you have to replace it, or at least to radically change things as you go. And step by step, it seems like our level is finally taking shape. Please do like and subscribe and hit that notification bell below to get notified when the next video goes live. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.